right, welcome back to the second part of our launch panel discussion. For this panel, we're focusing on small, medium launch vehicles. For quite some time, I mentioned earlier, small launch vehicles were all the rage for a very long time, although in recent years we've seen the rise and fall of many small launch providers. And even though there's still a lot of demand driven by large constellation, the price has been, the whole service has been commoditizing, and there seems to be a race to the bottom on pricing, which creates a huge challenge for smaller, medium-sized launch vehicles, just because of lack of economy of scale to really divide down those per unit pricing. Does that mean you will have to adapt and create a different business model? Or are we looking at creating a different landscape because there's now a new sovereign need for different segments into the rocket segment of the space industry? And how would that change everything? We'd love to hear some of your thoughts today. Love to invite our panelists to first do a quick introduction of yourself and your company. Keiko?
Hello, my name is Keiko Nasu from Isar Aerospace. I'm a sales director and overseeing US and also Asian market. So first of all, thank you, Monica, and APSCC organizers to invite me over to the great panel again this year. I'm always delighted to be here. So about Isar Aerospace, we are 100% independent European launch service provider. And our headquarters is located in Munich, Germany, and we are launching from Norway. And we are developing a small launch vehicle called Spectrum, and its target performance is about 900 kilometers to SSL 600 kilometer altitude. So if I may, I want to share three things maybe we achieved since last year at APSCC, because I know I'll be asked for the first launch and second launch. So first thing is it's related to Asia. We signed a launch service agreement with the first Asian customer, which is Elevation Space from Japan, and it was happened early this year, and we are supporting their first re-entry demonstration mission, which is the first commercial re-entry mission in Japan in 2027. And it's quite exciting for us because it happened even before the first flight. And in terms of the second one is the first test flight. We conducted it March 30th this year. Even though we couldn't reach the orbit, it was quite successful for us because we achieved all the milestones, including clean liftoff. And also we are planning to launch at 12:30 p.m. And we did that exactly at 12:30, which shows our capability to launch on time. And also we did the 30-second flight without damaging our launch pad, which was very important for us. And also verifying our own flight termination system. This was the very important milestone from the first test flight. And also we collected all the data and mostly all the parts from the shallow water, and got all the information. So we did the full investigation in 2 months, and we implemented corrective actions, and we are going to prepare for the second launch, which is the third thing I wanted to mention. So our first stage and the second stage are already in Nagoya, ready for the final firing testing. So as soon as it's done, we are going to move forward to the second launch, which is very exciting.
Do we have a time frame that we think?
So we cannot talk about exact launch window, but as soon as we have conducted the final testing, we're going to conduct the second qualification flight.
Thank you. Michael?
Hello, Michael Calliari, Chief Business Officer from MaiaSpace. So I would like also thank Monica and APSCC for hosting this panel, and second time for me also, so hopefully this is a tradition. Secondly, I would like to, can't speak for the whole small launch vehicle ecosystem, but at MaiaSpace, there's still a lot of enthusiasm about what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish. We hosted about 25 customers during the WSBW in Paris in September to our factory in Vernon. And unofficially, we can say at the end, we took an unofficial poll, and everyone got goosebumps on that. So there is enthusiasm. It's still a rage, and we're looking forward. What we're doing at MaiaSpace is developing the first reusable vehicle design, reusability from day one in Europe to help with the sovereignty. And we're also, it's a big mini launcher. In our most powerful version, inclined orbit, we get 4 tons of performance, 3.5 meter diameter fairing. So good for these sovereign constellations that many people in Asia Pacific are looking for and around the world.
Thank you. Sandy.
Morning, everyone. Good morning. Is it working? Morning, everyone. Sandy Tirtey from Rocket Lab. I've been there, I was employee number 4 at Rocket Lab in various roles, VP of Vehicle System, Launch Director. Now I've been doing the business development for 8 years. And it's been really an interesting adventure to see the company going from 4 people to with 3,000 today. We brought the Electron launch vehicle to market in 2017. Tonight we're conducting our 74th launch. These days we launch twice a month. In fact, you're about to see a very heavy launch schedule in November and December this year. Electron has been the champion of the dedicated launch for small satellite, about 250 kilo to LEO. We are about to bring the Neutron launch vehicle, which is a 13-ton to LEO, trying very hard to fly before the end of the year. And although the name Rocket is in our name, Rocket Lab is an end-to-end launch company. So today, 2/3 of our revenue come from satellite and space systems. And our goal really is to deploy infrastructure, space infrastructure. So we see rockets as just a way to get there. Space system is important, and the future for us is applications. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy, you brought up several points I want to talk about today, so maybe I'll start with you. What are you seeing in terms of demand? We know the overall demand is up. We've also observed the trend of satellites getting bigger. So what do you see as a demand now, particularly for small rocket, given Electron's, like I think the only operating, dominating small rocket currently? What are you seeing? Where do you see this going? And what is a launch rate cadence that you guys are planning to address?
I'm Belgian, and one of the most famous Belgian artists is Magritte, and you may know the painting, This Is Not a Pipe. So I will say a rocket is not a rocket. You know, when we compare, they're very different products. There's often confusion about small rocket, medium rocket, large rocket, dedicated, rideshare. I understand why there is confusion, because there's not a lot of different options on the market, but they're very different products. And you know, higher demand for larger satellite that go to larger rocket doesn't mean lower demand on smaller launch vehicle. Otherwise, we will simply not exist. So there were some very interesting points made in the panel before about, for example, transporter bringing price down. When you have a larger rocket, you may have a better dollar per kilo, but you lose in flexibility. So being able to offer a dedicated launch vehicle of a certain dimension brings a certain market segment. And in some case, a 250 kilo rocket like ours may compete with a 1-ton rocket, but most of the time you would not, because very often for an application there is a clear, this product is better for my application than this product. So yes, we've seen satellites getting bigger. We've also seen satellites getting smaller. You know, a few years ago, the CubeSats were hugely popular. I don't see as many as for those today. You know, they've tend to become bigger, and in a way, they become more the range of satellites that we launched. What was 20 kilos has become 50, 100, something like this. So no, we do see an increase of market demand, and you can see it in our increase of launch frequency. We're launching twice a month currently, and that's only going to increase next year.
How do you see the need to increase from twice a month to more than that? And how much more would you anticipate that needs to be increased to?
We've been increasing probably by a factor 1.3 to 1.4 every year, and there's no reason to think that that trend is not continuing. One thing that we're starting to see is much more long-term booking. You know, typically because we brought the taxi in a world where only the bus exists, we were always expecting to see clients booking pretty late because, you know, when you book a taxi, you don't book 2 hours ahead. But with the increased demand, we actually, this year is the first time that we see booking extending to 2027, 2028. So that gives us a very strong signal that we can increase the production. Usually we are booked about, I would say 1 year ahead, but because we allow clients to push their launch date backward, because you know clients want to launch when they're ready, but when they're not ready, they want to delay. We often have openings, so often we can offer a launch within 6 months. But being able to see launches 3 years ahead is quite new. So that's a strong indication.
So you're saying pricing is not the only predominant driving factors, but commoditization is real, though, isn't it? Do we agree, or?
Yeah, I mean, if you would have 2 absolutely equivalent products, maybe price is probably a strong factor. And commercial companies never want to spend more money than they have to. But the ability to launch when you say you're going to launch, the reliability and the exact orbit are very important factors.
Thank you. Keiko, I'm going to come back to you. We're kind of moving up the size here. I think you're 1,000 kilogram, right? Are you seeing the same demand profile? What are your thoughts? About small rocket or small medium-sized rocket demand versus the overall market demand for large across the board?
Yeah, so we definitely see more demands than supply.
Is that working?
I think this is working. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we definitely see more demands than supply, and we are talking about the sovereign capability from like yesterday, but especially in Europe, and I see a trend in Asia too, but we've been experiencing a significant market shift as the government recognized the urgent needs to invest in the space, national space capabilities. And in order to support that, I think that independent space access is the significant bottleneck right now. And you know, German Ministry of Defense pledged $35 billion to boost the national space capabilities in the next 5 years, which shows the importance of having the sovereign space access, because you cannot, without it, we cannot truly tell like you have the independent military capabilities. So we see a lot of nations increasingly seeking the trustable and reliable sovereign launch partners. And we take that as a sign that we have to be ready and support and provide sovereign space access to Germany and NATO and allied nations, including in Asia. And we are getting ready to do that with the scalable, like industrial scalable production capability.
Thank you. Michael, what are you seeing in terms of demand?
Yeah, so I think the rationalization of the small launchers, mini launchers, whatever category we all fall into is occurring. And I agree with Sandy. You know, a year ago, when we were here talking to customers, it was sort of, let's wait and see. There's going to be so much capacity. We're going to drive the market. We're going to be able to choose what we want. And a year later, we see a big shift with customers now saying, how do we secure capacity in 2-3 years? How can we get on board? What can we do? So it's a shift that I think was natural, because I think we all agree that with the dozens of programs out there, we all can't survive. And so customers are now seeing this as a reality and looking to secure their capacity earlier rather than waiting 6 months before and saying, okay, I'll be able to choose. They know that they need to move a little more quickly.
So are we saying then one of the main advantage of a small medium rocket is agility, and people are able to book something much later than what they're usually accustomed to?
I think this is what is the ultimate objective of customers, but the ultimate objective isn't aligning with capacity, the real capacity that will be available. So they're engaging now for launches 27, 28 even. How do they secure that? And you know, I think one of the things that we fit in between MaiaSpace, between my two colleagues up here, is with the reusable, expendable version, we have a kick stage. We cover markets from several hundred kilos to several tons. And so we have access to a wide range of different customers that we can offer not only the agility, but the different market segments, tailored needs for their type of mission.
Thank you. So I'm going to stay on this topic of sizing a little bit longer. It continues to fascinate me. I don't think we ever come to a conclusion whether small or large is better or more important. What's interesting to me is that, I guess for Keiko, why did you guys choose your size? But however, Ariane Group is already working and operating Ariane 6, the large rocket, but then they choose to support and create a smaller variant with MaiaSpace, while Rocket Lab is moving from small to large. So we're seeing these movements all across the board. Very curious from each of you why your company made those decisions. What are you seeing that's causing those decisions to be made? We'll start with Keiko.
I think customer wants to secure the use of multiple launch vehicle availability, saying like, you know, for example, for mega constellation or constellations, customer wants to launch a bunch of satellites at once with larger launch vehicles, which is more cost effective. But in the future, if you want to replace one single satellite, and then they will come to us. And but I want to warn the customer who wants to do that, be aware of the size of the satellite, because I know with Starship, volume or satellite size won't be a limiting factor. But if we want to use the smaller launch vehicle like us in the future, it's could be a limiting factor also. So.
Thank you. Michael, why did Ariane Group decide to create a smaller one?
Well, I think you know, the large vehicles perform a service that the small vehicles either can be a complement to or provide a different service. And certainly in Europe, that small vehicle flexibility and availability was missing. So that's why you saw, I think, last count at least a dozen in Europe. But we're providing a lot of these European institutional missions. It comes back to sovereignty, are well-sized for smaller launchers. So having a couple small launchers in Europe helps with the sovereignty, gives a choice to the missions. But also, as said on the last panel, we're not only focused on institution, we need to be global, commercial. And with our launch vehicle, as I said, we cover a wide spectrum of market segments. And so we can focus on different types of missions, from dedicated launches to some of these sovereign constellations that are out there with, let's say, a few tens of satellites. If it's hundreds of satellites, we're not going to launch a complete constellation, but we can be a complement to a big launcher who is launching hundreds and hundreds of constellation satellites.
Thank you, Sandy. So you guys not only moved from small to big, you went way bigger. You skipped 1,000, 2,000 kilo, went all the way to 13 ton. Why?
I love that you bring this because I was just going to. So just a clarification, we don't go from small to big. We continue Electron, and Electron will keep running and will keep accelerating. So we do small and big. I think for Electron, our approach was that it's very important to not be too big. Because if you start to be too big, and this is why we selected 250 kilo, you know, I am so pissed off when the satellite comes that is 270 and I can't launch it. However, most of the time not being too big is an asset because I can offer a dedicated launch. And this is exactly why currently, and I say currently because things change quickly, we do not believe in the 1 or 2 ton market. We just don't see that there's enough demand for a 1 or 2 ton vehicle to be dedicated. We think that most of the time it will fly as a rideshare. And a rideshare is a rideshare. You know, if a client can't choose when he flies in its orbit, there's still nothing special about you. You just compete then on price with transporter, which is a race to the bottom. I mean, a race to the bottom. So, and as harsh as it sounds, that's our analysis today. It may be different tomorrow. And we think that if there is not that demand, you can't increase your launch frequency. And if you can't increase your launch frequency, you can't be in control of your pricing and so on. So our approach today is that we see that Electron is very useful for dedicated launch. You know, when a constellation starts, just demonstrator, just or the satellites that need a very specific orbit. But when you want to start deploying a larger constellation, you don't want to do them one at a time. And this is why we selected Neutron. The size of Neutron is 13 ton to LEO. And the reason it was selected is that we looked at vehicles like Falcon 9, and we noticed that it rarely flies full. You always hear the dollar per kilo, but the dollar per kilo is only relevant if you fly full. If you don't fly full, the dollar per kilo is not the right metric. So the approach with Neutron is to try to stick to the same dollar per kilo as Falcon 9, but being smaller and covering the trench that is most of the time flown on Falcon 9. And we think that by doing this, we can basically offer a better price.
Pricing and funding, I'm going to come back to Keiko. You mentioned earlier about the investment Germany's putting in. They stated that they will invest 35 billion euros into defense and space technology. The funding for launch technology has been fairly strong in the United States for a very long time, but not so much so in the rest of the world. How important is that sovereignty and support for your company in Europe versus getting commercial private funding?
Yeah, okay. I think, yeah, we are fortunate enough that, like, you know, in June this year, like, we got another like 150 million euro investment from the Eldridge Industries, and which is going to enable us to scale up because we are going to move to the bigger facility later next year. Actually, like 6 or 7 times larger than the current facility. So that will enable us to gear up for the mass production of the Spectrum launch vehicle, so that we can increase the cadence, which is very important for us. So like those investment and also like, you know, sovereign capability, like, you know, or like those investment will be like very significant for us to increase our cadence so that we can support more board customers, including commercial.
Thank you. I think we only have 5 minutes left, so we're going to move to the audience question. I think this actually...
Can I just say, I think first politely disagree with your market assessment on the 1 to 2 ton launchers, but we can off.
I would like to talk about that too.
Yeah, and
invite us in 5 years.
Yeah. And just quickly on the, I think when you talk about sovereignty and the investment, just in Europe, I think definitely institutions are realizing the importance of the sovereignty, and we have the European Launch Challenge that's going to be Both of us are finalists in that, and I think in a few weeks at the ministerial, they're supposed to announce the winners. So that's a big step for Europe to engage in the sovereignty of small launch vehicles. So just it is important, and that through this challenge, we hope that this is a strong sign of the importance of the sovereignty and the future of the small vehicles in Europe.
So I think I'm going to try to get to at least a couple questions. Let's see. Are we building too many rockets for too few payloads? How big is the real small-sat market without the mega constellations? Anyone?
I think we are looking into the market segment which like Neutron or Starship cannot meet the demands. For example, like in space, like in services or like docking missions or like re-entry missions, like those missions requires a very specific launch windows and also and very flexibility and also last minute access to like ferry, and all those things cannot be met by like in huge rideshare missions. So there are needs for that, and we are not thinking about like price per kilogram for the pricing for our market segment.
Thank you. And Michael, I think the next couple are for you. How do you think about reusability?
So I think MaiaSpace believes in reusability, and 100%, as I said from day one, that's in our development path. And I think more importantly, Europe has finally realized the importance of reusability. So SpaceX demonstrates that a few times a week. We've built a business plan on a different use case in reusability of just 19 launches when we're up to full operational capability. Our business plan works with that, with a mix of reusable and expendable, so I don't think it's a dream. We have to demonstrate it, but we have good people in front of us who have demonstrated it with SpaceX. My old colleagues at Blue Origin are on their way to demonstrate, so I don't believe it's a dream. I think it's the future.
And Sandy, I guess reusability, and if you can wrap us up, I think one last question about bandwagon. Is that an opportunity?
So, sorry if I can be picky and choose quickly a word about the first one. I think what really matters is execution. We'll see in 5 years how many rockets are actually flying, and I don't think there will be too many. Reusability, absolutely essential for large rockets in order to bring the frequency. And what was the question that you wanted me to? The bandwagon.
Bandwagon.
I don't think bandwagon was ever really a program. I think, no, but SpaceX had signed a contract with a Korean company to go to a low inclination, mid inclination, and they did the normal rideshare, which is reselling the extra mass. But that was never really a program where they created it and would keep flying it. I think they've seen that it's not that popular, and I don't think I will keep going. But again, just an opinion.
Thank you. Once again, we're out of time. Please thank our panelists for the discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for the wonderful panel.